Hello and welcome back everyone to our podcast series, and today I want to talk about the Starlink Project. After seeing several news about it being able to be seen at night, I immediately thought of making this into a podcast subject. So let's start with the history of the project, which brings us to the year 2015. That's when Elon Musk publicly announced their satellite constellation to provide internet access, Starlink. And in January 2016, the company had disclosed plans to launch 2 prototype satellites in that year and to have the project operational by approximately 2020. Well, unfortunately, as you know, they couldn't achieve this, and that's not because they couldn't do it, but instead, they wanted to make the project sufficiently low cost. Now, I don't want to bore you with all the controversy happens between the SpaceX and the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, so I'm just going to tell you the result. April 2019, FCC allowed SpaceX to orbit nearly 12,000 satellites. And yeah, I know that is a crazy number, but hold on. They're actually planning on increasing that number to 42,000. I mean, can you believe that? Obviously, Elon Musk isn't a maniac who wants to launch tens of thousands of satellites into space for no reason. But yeah, maybe he is, but whatever, that's not the point. I'm gonna tell you the reason for that high number of satellites, but first, I have to explain the orbital height at which the satellites will be revolving around our planet. The SpaceX was initially thinking of placing their satellites at a height of 1,000 kilometers, which is the standard height at which the satellites are standing. However, their plan is to provide an internet connection with the lowest latency possible, so they had to orbit their satellites much closer to Earth at 550 kilometers. Because the closer they are to the planet, means the less distance data has to travel. But that gives birth to a whole new problem. Company's other plan was to provide internet access to each and every people living on Earth. But since each satellite has 81 degrees of range of view, that means they can only cover a circular area with a radius of 500 kilometers. If they had placed the satellites at their initial planned height, this radius would have been 1060 kilometers. So lowering the altitude of a satellite decreases the area it can cover, but also decreases the latency. This is why our maniac Elon needs so many satellites in order to provide worldwide coverage with the lowest latency possible. Now let me give you some information about the satellite itself. Each satellite weighs around 260 kilograms, which means they are significantly lighter than the others. And they have a compact, flat panel design enabling the SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket to carry the most satellites possible. They also feature a single solar panel. According to SpaceX, they are standardized and easy to integrate into the manufacturing process. Let's not forget about one of the most important parts of a satellite, the ion propulsion system, which is a really efficient ion thrusters powered by krypton, enabling the satellites to orbit race, maneuver in space, and deorbit at the end of their life. Just like every other satellite, these ones also have an end of their life, sadly. So when this happens, the satellites will utilize their onboard propulsion system to deorbit and slowly, well, not that slowly, but yeah, go into the deeper space where they will fly forever and alone. Well, let's not forget about the fact that Starlink is the first krypton-propelled spacecraft ever flown. Since the space is a place where any moves you make have to be accurate, Starlink satellites also have a custom navigation sensor named Star Tracker, telling each satellite its altitude and thus enabling precision placement. There are thousands of space debris floating above, and even a millimeter-sized piece can cause a huge damage on spacecrafts because they're flying at incredibly high speeds. Starlink countered this situation with a device called autonomous collision avoidance. Like its name suggests, this little thing works with debris tracking system to avoid collision with space debris and other spacecrafts, and it works by itself, so that means there will be no human error. Well, that brings me to the end of this episode of our podcast series. I tried to explain Starlink briefly to you, and I hope you've learned something and enjoyed it as well. Thanks for listening, and until next time, take care and stay healthy.